photography is a way that I can express certain thoughts and ideas I have about culture um, to a very wide audience of people, because lots of people don't like art, but they seem to relate to photography because it's something they understand, because it's something they can actually do at home. So photography for me is a very slow and very planned way of communicating a very specific idea to an audience that doesn't, or maybe doesn't necessarily like to go into the art world.
You're here working for this project of Datalogic, and how was the beginning of this project? Because till now, youth, technology and communication are the main themes of your job. So coming from this background, how did you approach to this job?
So yes, so normally when I'm working on my own work, I'm working around the themes of youth and technology, and the way especially that youth are using that technology to have these new forms of communication and communicate with each other across very broad distances and still have a sense of closeness. So when I was approached for the book and we were working around a theme of innovation, I wasn't quite sure how to picture that, because to me it's something that is a little bit intangible and it's a little harder to be pictured. So I wasn't quite sure what to do, and so when we began the project, when we actually began shooting, we started to focus on the people and the people that are there and that are working. And what I started to realize was that, you know, even though these people didn't necessarily fit my normal theme, these young people, that these people were working all around the world, and they were working together on one basic project. For one company, they were making one thing, and so there were all these connections that were being made around the world with a company like this, and those type of connections are only possible when thinking about the communication technology. So a lot of my themes are still wrapped in this project, even though this is much different than how I normally work.
Okay, and how did you find this different kind of culture of people who work for Datalogic? How did you connect them all together?
Well, I mean, so they're all working, I mean, and this brings us back a little bit to innovation. They're all working on this one project, or this one product. I mean, it's not one product, but it's a basic type of product. It's these scanners, and they're all working together with this. And so going back to the innovation, what we started to realize, or what I started to realize about the project, is it wasn't necessarily about the innovation part of it, but it was about the people who are innovating, the people that are making the innovation happen. So whether it's someone working in a warehouse, or someone putting together the scanners, or someone designing the scanners, or ordering parts, all those people come together as one whole, and that's where the innovation comes from. It's not just one person sitting in a room and coming up with an amazing idea and then the idea happening. It's all of these different people in all of these different locations around the world working together, and that's what causes the innovation, and that's what creates the innovation. And so that's where the project is focusing. It's focusing on the people that do the innovation.
All the people you took images of are posed like they are the main character of a movie, a sort of movie of Datalogic. Is this a correct impression I had from your work?
Yeah. I mean, all of my work in the past is always this very. We would use the term staged for the other work that I've done. These are very much posed. But my work is always it has a slightly cinematic feel, that there's a story that's happening outside the image, that this is only one small piece in a larger story that's happened. So yes, all of these people, they are characters. They're characters in the story that is Datalogic, and so I'm trying to reflect that a little bit with the images. They're supposed to be characters in these images as well as in real life.
We choose photography for this project because we think that is an universal language to speak about such an international company and business. Do you really think that nowadays a photographic language is universal?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you completely. I think that there's something about the image, the single image, more so than writing, more so than maybe even video, because there's language involved usually. But there's something about the single image, especially of a person, especially of another human being, where when one human is looking at another human, the gestures and the face and the recognition between the two people, the person in the image and the person looking at the image, there's a connection that's made there that's not possible in any other art form. It transcends language, and there can be so much emotion and connection between two people, even though one is just photographed and the other person is in the real world. So I think it goes further than anything in conveying an idea to someone else.
The first project you worked to was the name is The Illuminati, and it was exhibited, we can say, all over the world in many museums and many exhibitions, and it had a great success. How do you explain and how do you this success, and how do you start this project?
Well, I'll explain the success first, and that the success comes back to the universality of photographs and certain gestures. And so I was speaking about, in that work, I was speaking about complex ideas of technology and connection between people, and also isolation from the technology as well. That's very hard to communicate to someone in another language through writing. It's just a very a lengthy subject. So you can write papers on it that are pages and pages and pages trying to talk about the idea. But there's something about photography where the images in the Illuminati are very simple. They're very focused on the people in the images. And because of the light in them, there's a sense of connection that happens. And so it's really interesting for me, and I think the big reason that project was successful is that in one image, in one single image that's mostly black, mostly dark, all of the ideas of communication and of loneliness and of something happening inside the mind are all conveyed at once. I think part of the success of that project is its simplicity, yet it still seems to convey all the ideas that I wanted it to convey.
You print most of your images in big size, sometimes real size or maybe more. What is the relationship you want visitor to have with your images?
Yeah, I really want people, when they're looking at my images, to relate to the person that's in the image, to relate to the character that's in the image. And there's something like with images that are this size, or 8 by 10 is the classic photography size. There's something about those images that the person looking at them doesn't fully relate because the character in the image is so small. And so part of the reason to print large and to print close to life size is that the character in the image becomes more relatable to the viewer. Now, something else happens when you start making those characters in the image larger than life. Something completely different happens. But when you get close to life size, half life size, in that area, something happens between the viewer and the character in the image where they start to feel not like that person is a picture, but they start to relate to that person on a human level. And so that's a big reason why I print so large, mostly for my own work.